Hello student, myself Kuhu Sarkar, and today I will continue my series. The series name Let's Discuss UGC NET question paper, English question paper. So here I took 2020's question paper, but in my previous video I decided to take 25 questions, but some interruption happened and I have had to finish only 24 questions. So today I will continue the series and I will finish 25 questions today. So let's start. And if you want this PDF, this is very much useful PDF. If you want this PDF, I will share it in my Telegram channel, and I will share the link in my description box, so you can get it from there. Okay, so let's start. So our 25 questions which I had left: Macaulay's Minute of 1835, so 2, and our answer will be 1 mean A and D. So I will only take the answers so that I will finish in less time. And so our answer will be A and D mean promotes European literature and science among the natives, and stop expenditure on the publication of Oriental books and spends funds only on English education. So you know that famous Macaulay's Minute, which published in 1835. So it stopped the our Indian education completely. So it said that Indians education are not good enough. Compared to English education, so let's only teach in English and spread English education. So how he do it? He promote European literature and science among the natives, and you know the infiltration theory of Macaulay's Minute. It is a famous theory. And then he did stop expenditure on the publication of Oriental works. So he stopped the publication of the Oriental works so that Indian natives cannot buy the Oriental books, and then spent funds only on English education. So spend more funds on English education, so that natives did not get any choice, but they had to buy the English books, English works, right? So let read the information about Macaulay's Minute. Macaulay's Minute of 1835 is a great historical document in Indian education. It brought a great effect on the education system and policy in shaping the modern Indian education system. So it brought a great effect on the educational system of and policy in shaping the modern Indian education system. He wanted to create a pool of Indians who would be able to serve British interests and be loyal to them. Infiltration theory, which I told you before. This class would be Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. So his famous speech, which he wrote in the letter, that Indian in blood and color. So Indian natives will be Indian in blood and color, but English in taste. Their taste will be like English people. English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and intellect. Macaulay wanted the government to spend money only on imparting Western education. So he want only to spread Western education in India, not on Oriental education. So he completely stopped the Oriental education in India. He advocated the shutting down of all colleges where only Eastern philosophy and subjects were taught. So what he did, he advocated the shutting down of all colleges where only Eastern philosophy and subjects were taught. So he completely stopped Indian education in India. Let's see the next question, 26th question. Which is the subject of Evans controversy essay in Brothers Karamzov? And the answer will be ecclesiastical codes. Ivan is a fictional character in Fyodor Dostoevsky's famous novel, The Brothers Karamazov. So Ivan is a famous fictional character in this noble. He is an atheist and has a deep compassion for suffering and tribulations of earthly man. So even is an atheist and he has a deep compassion for sufferings and tribulations of earthly man. He refrains from questioning the existence of God but refers to accept this world as being God's world. From his questioning, Ivan has developed a long prose poem entitled The Grand Inquisitor. So he developed a long prose poem entitled The Grand Inquisitor, in which he envisioned Christ returning to earth. So here he envisions that Christ returning to earth. He is again threatened with death, but this time he is indicated by the church. Christ's second death is demanded because the cardinal explains that mankind is too diverse to accept the ideas advocated by Christ. So here we see that Christ's second birth is not accepted by the people. They want the second death because Christ ideas, they cannot accept Christ ideas. The church consequently has taken away the freedom that Christ promised man. So the church consequently has taken away the freedom that Christ promised man, and for man's good it has enslaved him. So now Christ had been killed again. So, in this poem, Ivan reveals the depth of his compassion for mankind and creatures who feels do not have the strength to follow the strenuous demands made by God, Christ. So, in his poem, Ivan shows that his sorrow, his compassion for mankind, that they could not follow the Christ ideas, Christ promise. So here Evans wrote this controversial essay, The Ecclesiastical Codes. Then question number 27. Which of the following poem by Philip Larkin deals with the trauma of a rape victim who says, even so distant, I can taste the grief? So Philip Larkin is very much important in the net. You should read all his poems. So the poem's name is Deception. Deception is a poem by Philip Larkin. It tells the aftermath of a young woman's rape and the way both rapist and victims were changed. So this poem is about rape. And here T.S. Eliot tried to show both rapist and victim's point of view. Both their ideas changed after the rape. Both they of them changed. A young woman who was raped tells her distress after attack was over. So here the rape victim she tells her distress after the attack. In the second stanza, the poet thought that by attacking these women, that his desire would be sated. He would deceive. As the title suggests, so here the rapist, his desire also sated and he is also changed. His deception is said to be worse than suffered by the women. So here Philip Larkin want to show the rapist point of view, and he said that his deception is more worse than the suffered women than the victim. This implies that women was tricked into the situation in which she was attacked. This implies that the women was tricked into the situation in which she was attacked. So the poem is Deception, where where the line, even so distant, I can taste the grief. So let's see the question number 28. Which of the following dramatists are associated with epic theater? So who are associated with epic theater? Answer will be 2, means B and C, Bertolt Brecht and Arnold Breon. So let's see about epic theater. Epic theater is a theory of theatrical presentation developed by Bartlett Bridget um, and outlined in 1930s essays. The modern theatre is the epic theatre. Bridget created a type of drama that audience could view with complete detachment. So here Bridget created a type of drama where audience could view the play with complete detachment. He used what he termed alienation effect. So he used the term alienation effect, important term, to create to create an emotional distance between the audience and the action on the stage. So here he used the term alienation effect. He uh, tried to affect the audience, but the audience should have detached themselves from the total action. Among these effects are short self-contained scenes that keep the play from building the cathartic climax, songs that comment on the action techniques or acting that prevent the actor from developing an emotional identity with his role. Beside the plays Bartlett Bridget, such as A Man is a Man in 1926, The Three Many Opera in 1928, other plays that use epic theatre conventions include those of George Buchner, Frank Wedekind, Erwin Piscator, Arnold Briorand, and Leopold Jesner are also important. So these are some famous dramatists who also wrote in epic theatre, in the genre of epic theatre. So let's see question number 29. Which two rivers are mentioned in Andrew Marvell's at the beginning to his Croy mistress? And the answer will be three, means A and C, the Ganges and the Humber. So you have to read the poem. To his coy mistress is a carpe diem poem. Carpe diem poem mean live in the present, by Andrew Marvell. It argues a young woman to enjoy the pleasure of life before death claims her. So it is the poem's theme is carpe diem theme, mean live in the present. Indeed, the poem is an attempt to seduce the titular coy mistress. In the process, however, the speaker dwells with grotesque intensity on death itself. Death seems to take over the poem, displacing the speaker's erotic energy and filling the poem with dread. The lover says, "If we had all the time in the world, your prudishness would not be a problem. We would sit together and decide how to spend the day. You would walk by the river of Ganges in India and find rubies. I would walk by the river Humber in the England and write my poems. I would love you from the very start of time, even before the biblical flood, and you could refuse to consummate our relationship all the way until the apocalypse." So this is the theme of the poem. Let's see question number 30. Which text among the following are linked with to literary feminism? So you know the answer will be the yellow wallpaper and a room of one's own. Yellow wallpaper by uh, Gilman, Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. Literary feminism seeks to, on the hand, to investigate and analyze the differing representations of women and men in literary text, and on the other hand, to rethink literary history by exploring and often marginalizing tradition of women's writing. Feminist criticism is concerned to question the challenge conventional and patriarchal canon, to consider the extent to which writing, language, and even literary form itself are themselves bound up with issues of gender difference. Charlotte Perkins Gilman's short story The Yellow Wallpaper, which was published in 1928, is regarded as important early work of American feminist literature for its illustration of the attitudes towards mental and physical health of women in the 19th century. So Charlotte Perkins Gilman, The Yellow Wallpaper, is a feminist work. Virginia Woolf's essay A Room of One's Own, which was written in 1929, addressed the status of women and women artists and asserts that a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write. So, both are the feminist works. Let's see the next question. Question number 31. In Anxiety of Influence, which of the following definitions is given by Harold Bloom to explain the term clinamen? So it is famous. The book in the essay Anxiety of Influence, where Harold Bloom divided some term like clinamen. So here the answer will be 2, mean poetic misprision. In his book, The Anxiety of Influence, a theory of poetry, which was published in 1973, Harold Bloom introduced his 6 revisionary ratios, which he consistently applies in his book as well as his successor volume, A Map of Misreading. So his another book, A Map of Misreading, here he used 6 revisionary ratios. There are clinamen, tessera, kenosis, deimmunization, ascesis, aphods, apophreds. So in Pikenar's book, you can read the definition of these revisionary ratios. Here, Harold Bloom try to divide the revisionary, try to give his opinion, like how the young generation took the old generation's book and how they interpret it in different ways. Like some generation, they try to not generation, some young poets, they try to retell the story. Some try to detach their story from the ancient. Some try to recap the old story. So here he divided all the terms. So you can read it from Picaner. Then Bloom took the word clinamen from Lucretius, who refers to swarms of atoms that makes change possible. He defines this as poetic misreading or misprison proper. The poet makes a swerve away from the precursor in the form of a corrective movement. This swerve suggests that the precursor went accurately up to a certain point, but should have swerved in the direction that new poems moves. So here he divided in 6 ways. So let's see question number 32. Given below are two statements. One is labeled as assertion and another is reason. So research methods are a range of tools that are used for different types of inquiry. The tools used in research are products of situation which is in which they are applied. So answer will be both statements are correct, because research method are a range of tools that are used for different types of inquiry, right? And the tools the tools used in research are products of situation in which they are applied. So both statements are correct. Let's see question number 33. Which of the following statement is appropriately true of Harold Pinter's play? So you should follow Harold Pinter deeply, because Harold Pinter always asked in NET exam. So the answer will be 3. Menace is in the air, but it is not pinned down or explained. Many of Harold Pinter's plays are considered as comedy of menace. A comedy of menace is a play in which the laughter of the audience in some or all situation is immediately followed by a feeling of some impending disaster. So what is comedy of menace? Comedy of menace is a play in which the laughter of the audience in some or all situations is immediately followed by a feeling of some impending disaster. The audience is made aware of some menace in the very midst of its laughter. The menace is produced throughout the play from potential or actual violence or from an underlying sense of violence throughout the play. The actual cause of menace is difficult to define. It may be because the audience feel uncertainty and insecurity throughout the play. So menace is not a comedy. Like if audience cannot laugh, but audience feel bitter, audience feels absurd, and they feel uncertain, insecure. Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party is a comedy of menace. The play is actually the mingling of comedy with a perception of danger that pervades the whole play. Stanley, the central protagonist, always finds the life beset with danger. When two persons called Mr. Goldberg and Mr. McCann come to stay in the same boarding house for a couple of nights, their appearance fills Stanley's mind and with unexplained fear and tension. The feeling of menace is reinforced when Stanley scares Meg by saying that some people would be coming the very day in a van. They would bring a wheelbarrow with them to take someone away. Eventually, no one comes, but Mr. Goldberg and McCann take Stanley with them. So, this is comedy of menace. So what is the right answer? Menace is in the air and it is not pinned down or explained, so it is totally absurd. Who among the following linguists proposed the term competence and performance? So you know that it is most famous term by Noam Chomsky. Terms competence and performance are used into linguistic by Noam Chomsky. Competence refers to the knowledge that a native speaker has of a language. Competence means you have the competence. You are capable of using the language. The term was contrasted with performance, the actual use of language in concrete situation. So performance means how you perform how you perform the language in concrete situation. The distinction between competence and performance has been bitterly criticized, but criticism are groundless since the distinction underlines virtually all works in linguistics and Chomskyan um, are otherwise. So this is the famous term by Noam Chomsky. Let's see question number 35. Harry wrote a poem on the mountain. Which of the following are admissible statement about all the above the statement? So the answer will be 2, means B and C. The sentence is an example of structural ambiguity because Harry wrote a poem on the mountain. You can say that he wrote a poem about the mountain, and you can say that yes, he wrote a poem in the hill. Then C means the sentence involves two deep structure. So here the sentence involves two deep structure. Let's see the explanation. The sentence is an example of structural ambiguity. The structure or syntactic ambiguity is the potential of multiple interpretation for a piece of written or spoken language because of the way words or phrases are organized. In the sentence, we are not sure that Harry was written a poem about the mountain or by sitting on the mountain. The term deep structure or surface structure were introduced by Noam Chomsky as a part of his work Transformational Grammar. As per Chomsky, structure refers to concepts, thoughts, ideas, and feelings, whereas surface refers to the words, language we use to represent the deep structure. Deep structure is underlying syntactic structure or label of a sentence. It is an abstract representation that identifies the ways a sentence can be analyzed and interpreted. The above statement can be analyzed in two ways, thus, it involves two deep structure. So, it can be analyzed in two ways. Therefore, it is two deep structure. One is surface structure and other is deep structure. So, let's see the next question 36. So, you have to match. John Keats, you know John Keats, Lamia, Wordsworth, Song of Wordsworth, The Excursion, P.B. Shelley, Alastor, and William Blake, Song of Experience. Alastor or The Spirit of Solitude is a poem by P.B. Shelley, first published in 1816. Song of Experience 1789 is a collection of illustrated poems by William Blake. Lamia is a narrative poem written John Keats and published in July 1820. The Excursion is a long poem by William Wordsworth and was published in 1814. Let's see question number 37. Arrange the following chronological order of publication. So, first, Francis Bacon, Advancement of Learning was published in 1605. You know that Bacon born in with Shakespeare, so you can it's a contemporary writer of Shakespeare, so you can uh, apply this knowledge and you can take advance of learning in first. Samuel Johnson, Lives of the Most Eminent English Poet was published in 1779. Thomas Carlyle on Hero Worship was published in 1841, and Charles Darwin on the Origin of Species was published in 1859. So you know that Charles Darwin Origin of Species must came in the last. Okay, so in that way you can write the question, answer the right question. Let's see question number 38. You have to match it. So the linguist Herbert Polkris developed a mode of interaction for successful communication called cooperative principle, and its maxims based on ordinary language philosophy. So Polkris cooperative principle. Edward Sapir, linguist relatively was developed by Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf, is known as Sapir-Whorf hypothesis or principle of linguistic relativity. So, Edward Sapir with linguistic relativity. In 1956, it describes the idea that language influences the perception and thought of people, thus affecting their behavior. So, it describes the idea that language influences the perception and thought of people, thus affecting their behavior. Then, Ferdinand de Saussure, you know, linguistic sign. Linguistic signs are bilateral and consist of a signifier made up of speech, sound, and signified, created by the sign's sense content. The concept of linguistic sign was given by Ferdinand de Saussure. Then Nancy Dorin, a great contribution to the fields of linguistics. Nancy Dorin's Language Death, the life cycle of a Scottish Gaelic dialect, describes types of changes in languages due to time. So, the great contribution of linguistics, Nancy Dorin's Language Death. So, Language Death, the life of cycle of Scottish Gaelic dialect. It is by Nancy Dorin. Let's see question number 39. Arrange the following term in chronological order. So in net they always give in that entire that type of questions. You have to arrange it chronological order. The most famous terms like defamiliarization by Fyodor Slyboski, then practical criticism. Let's see them. Okay. The term stream of consciousness was first used by psychologist William James in The Principle of Psychology, 1890. The Russian formalist for concept defamiliarization proposed by Viktor Slavovsky in his Art of Techniques, the famous work Art of Techniques, which was published in 1817, refer to the literary device whereby language is used in such a way that ordinary and familiar objects are made to look different. The term practical criticism is applied to an academic procedure devised by the critic I.A. Richards in his book Practical Criticism, which was published in 1929. The term heresy or paraphrase was coined by Clint Brooks in his book The Well-Trod Urn, which was published in 1949. The heresy is that of assuming that the meaning of a work of art, particularly of poetry, can be paraphrased. So these are the famous terms by this theorist. Let's see question number 40, which according to Thomas Hobbes is the only science God has bestowed on mankind that informs the structure of his mountainal work Leviathan, and the answer will be 4, mean geometry. The 17th century English philosopher Thomas Hobbes is widely regarded as one of the handful of truly great political philosophers whose masterwork Leviathan and the social contract theory are still remembered. Hobbes believed that the only science God has bestowed on mankind is geometry. His philosophical method in Leviathan is modeled after the geometrical proof founded upon first principle and established definitions, and in which each step of argument makes conclusion based upon the previous step. So he believed that only science God had bestowed on mankind is geometry. So let's see question number 41. Poetry, according to Philip Sidney, is of three kinds. They are religious, philosophical, and imaginative. In his treatise An Apology for Poetry, Philip Sidney describes three kinds of poetry. First is religious, second is philosophical poetry, and third, imaginative poetry. He calls special attention to the third class of poets, for these be that as the first and most noble sort may justly be termed Vates. Vates mean maker. They most properly do imitate, to teach and delight, and to imitate borrow nothing of what is, has been, or shall be, but range only with learned direct discretion into the divine consideration of what may be or should be. So he only follows three kinds of poetry: religious, philosophical, and imaginative. Let's see question number 42. Which among the following theories particularly emphasizes the social and historical dimension of text reception? And text reception, you know that Hans Robert Jauss. Hans Robert Jauss was associated with the constant school reception as essays, aesthetics. Jauss' main concern lies in how literary texts have been received at different time or epochs. His approach consequently incorporates a mood of historical thought, that is, awareness that a text does not exist as an independent or a temporal entity but requires realization in a special historical context. Since a text does not exist outside history, it can be taught of as always historically situated. Joss himself figures that a text is situated within a horizon of expectation. So the term horizon of expectation is very much important, on which constituted by a specific readership. A readership is defined by such factors as education, class, and age. So he is famous for reception theory. Let's see question number 43. Who among the following concept of multi-essentiality of the sign, saying that sign possess an inner dialectical quality and evaluative accent? Answer will be 4. Valentin Volosinov. In his famous book Marxism and Philosophy of Language 1929, Valentin Volosinov presents his concept multi-accentuality of the signs. In Volosinov's view, the meaning of verbal sign is the arena of continuous class struggle, and ruling class will try to narrow the meaning of social sign, making uniaccentual. So the ruling class always try to narrow down the social signs, and they try to dominate the lower culture, lower class. But the class of various class interest in times of social unrest will make clear multi-accentuality. So they try it to lead in uniaccentual, but the class interest of social unrest will make it clear that multi-accentuality will come. Multi-accentuality of words. Verbal meanings are subject to historical changes and are a site of struggle between different social groups in particular social historical contexts. So there are different social groups, therefore the word became multi-accentuality. Then different social groups in particular social historical context, language is never neutral. So language is never neutral. Whenever a sign is present, ideology is present too. So whenever I try to say something, my ideology will came with it, will come with the language, right? So language cannot be neutral. Dominant groups seek to fix meaning. Dominant group, dominant culture, high culture, they always seek to fix meaning. They seek to decide what constitutes extremism, for instance. So dominant group always try to fix meaning. Then see question number 44. Arrange the following authors in the chronological order of their birth. So I have to quick finish it because I don't have much more time. So let's see. William Langland was born in 1333, 1330, and died in 1400. So William Langland will be the first. Then Geoffrey Chaucer, 1342 to 1400. Then John Dryden, who born in 1631 and died in 1700, and Alexander Pope, born in 1688 and died in 1744. Then Oscar Wilde, 1854 and died in 1900. Let's see the next question 45. Which among the following Sherlock Holmes refers to the significant events in English history? And the answer will be the Masquerade Rituals. You can see the movie in the YouTube. The Adventure of Masquerade's Ritual is a short Sherlock Holmes story written by Arthur Conan Doyle, narrated by Holmes himself to Austen. The story is associated with key English Civil War and crowning of Charles II. So the story is about the crown of Charles the First. Charles the First crown and crowning of Charles the Second. You know that Charles the First was assassinated, and the story is about his crown. In an incident in the story, Holmes cleans up the metal and stones and reveals a gold crown, deducing that it had once been crowned King Charles the First, as the ritual dates from the period prior. It was also possible that a masquerade had been entrusted with the crown during the English Civil War, but had been murdered before King Charles II had been crowned. So the story is about the Charles the First crown. Now let's see question number 46. Which book of Paradise Lost incorporates speech, rhyme, rhythm of Adam and Eve's marital quarrel? So marital quarrel will be in Book 9. Milton's Paradise Lost is the story of Adam and Eve. It deals with the temptation, fall, and repentance. Adam quarrels with Eve and says that if she had listened to him this morning, and if they had done their work together, she would have been she would not have been tempted and would not be in a condition where they are right now. Eve fights back and she says that the serpent was so tricky, cunning, and deceptive that even had been Adam, he also be targeted. Okay, and he would have been successful in his temptation. Adams ends book 9 by telling Eve that she was warned, told of the dangers that were waiting for them, but she did not listen. Adam tries to shift the blame from him to Eve, saying that if Eve had only listened to Adam, she might not have eaten the fruit from the tree. So, question number 47. I have to finish it in hurry. Arrange 18th century magazine in chronological order. So first will be the Gentleman's Magazine, was monthly magazine founded by Edward Cape in January 1713. So first will be the Gentleman's Magazine. Then monthly magazine 1749 to 1845 was English periodical founded by Ralph Griffiths. Then Rambler was periodical started by Samuel Johnson. It was published on Tuesday and Saturday from 1750 to 1752. Then total 208 issues. Then Critical Review was magazine appearing from 1756 to 1817. It was edited by Tobias Smollett. So know more about this magazine, search it in internet. Then question number 48. Who among the following feminist theories posited a separated realm of female experience captured in a style of writing different from men's? And the answer will be 4, mean B and E. Louis Irigaray and Helen Kixo. Louis Irigaray is a philosopher, psychoanalyst, and linguistics whose criticism patriarchal production of meaning and subjectivity has been among the most influential in French post-war feminist writing. Although her works have at times been dismissed by Anglo-American theorists, whether because of what they perceive as essential position on sexual difference or because of her poetic, even cryptic writing style. The significance of her intervention, in particular in patriarchal discourse across a wide range of disciplines, started to receive more recognition in the 1990s. Irigaray became widely known to Anglo-American critics with Speculum of the Other Women. So his most famous book, The Speculum of the Other Women and The Sex Which Is Not One, uh, written in 1977 and translated in 85, where she criticized phallocentrism. Phallocentrism means patriarchal writing, Western philosophical discourse, especially in psychoanalysis. Helen Kixo, a feminist, post-structuralist literary critic, poet, novelist, and playwright, Hicks is the most famous for her essay "Stories: The Laugh of Medusa," which explores the links between female sexuality, psyche, and language. So he explores the line between female sexuality, psyche, and language. Her main theatrical concern is expressed in stories, where she attempts to find ways out of a masculine phallocentric binary system that excludes feminine and exile women from their bodily pleasure. So that's all for today because I don't have time. So I end this video here. So if you like my video, please like and comment and share. And if you have anything to say, please write your comment in the comment section. So thank you very much. Bye.